Thank you for joining us for the Advancing Oceanside Podcast, brought to you by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. The Advancing Oceanside Podcast hosts business and community leaders from all industries to help inform, better educate, and ultimately advocate for a prosperous economic climate here in Oceanside. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Advancing Oceanside Podcast. We are so excited to have Estela de Llanos from Sdg E with us for our third episode in our sustainability series. Estela is Sdg E's Vice President of Clean Transportation and Sustainability and Chief Environmental Officer. In this role, she oversees clean transportation, advanced clean technologies, environmental compliance, and other sustainability initiatives. Estela dives deep into Sdg E's commitment to sustainability, highlighting the company's recent announcement to reach net zero gas emission by 2045. She also shares affordable ways you can cut your carbon footprint. I'm excited for you to hear all this packed into this segment. So, without further ado, Estela de Llanos. Welcome, Estela de Llanos. We are so happy to have you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Hannah. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. And like I said, this is part of our sustainability series for Earth Month. So we've had a couple of other sustainable businesses here in Oceanside that have been on, but we're really excited today to talk to you with Sdg E. So let's just, go ahead and jump right into it. We're obviously going to talk about Sdg E's commitment to sustainability. But before I get too much into that, I want to hear a little bit about yourself. I've heard from your coworkers that you're extremely passionate about what you do. So, why are you so passionate about sustainability, getting to net zero, and what experiences have you had that have kind of shaped your views on sustainability?
Yeah. Well, let me start, if I may, by acknowledging that sustainability is a pretty big word. And I think that it means a lot of different things to different people. But a common definition that I think about is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainability is also often discussed in terms of climate and environmental issues, but to me, it is much broader than that. It requires us to think about social impacts, equity, and for businesses, good governance, ethics, things like that. I have been in this field, environmental and sustainability, for about 25 years. And the way I approach my work is rooted in my lived experiences. I'm the daughter of Cuban refugees. I grew up in California, in the LA area. And I can remember days where the air quality in LA in the 70s was pretty bad. We could not have PE outdoors. I remember noticing differences between neighborhoods, the small apartment that my family shared versus the big houses that my parents cleaned. And I remember as a little kid being worried and very aware of money in a way that maybe other kids were not. So to me, these experiences make me very deeply committed to environmental justice and climate equity, and making sure that as we're talking about a really exciting pathway with innovation and technology and jobs, that we're also thinking about vulnerable communities and making sure that they're not left behind in the transition to a clean energy future. I'm also the mother of 3 teenagers, and I think a lot about what kind of world that I'm leaving to them, and what can I be doing in my job to make sure that they can lead happy and fulfilling lives. There's a lot of challenges around this, but despite the plenty of days where the issues can seem pretty overwhelming, there are a lot of bright minds focused on energy and environment and sustainability right now. And I know that it helps to have people like me at the table who can tap into personal experiences. So I'm passionate about this because I think this is an exciting time, and we have a lot of opportunities ahead of us. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, that's great. I love that take on it. And I think it's minds like you that are really going to be able to make a difference as we do move forward. So I appreciate that. Can you tell us a little bit about the San Diego Gas and Electric Company and the company's mission, vision, and some of its values?
Yeah. So I love SDG&E's mission and its values. The mission is to be the cleanest, safest, and most reliable energy infrastructure company in America. And our values and our company culture is really reflected in these values. There are three of them. The first is to do the right thing, the second is to champion people, and the third is to shape the future. So there's not a day that goes by that somebody somewhere doesn't talk about our mission or our values, and we think about um, how to make this decision, what should guide us, should we approach this program differently. If we're always guided by these values, then we know we're doing right by our stakeholders. So um, I really appreciate these values and this mission, and I like to tie back to it often in our day job.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I know we're gonna get a lot more into exactly what you're talking about here, but I want to start by yesterday, you guys, April 19th, you guys actually announced your commitment to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2045. So what does getting to net zero mean, and why is it important?
Well, getting to net zero by 2045 means that we are taking all of the greenhouse gas emissions associated with our operations, so both directly and indirectly, and committing to reduce and remove emissions until we get to zero or below zero. This commitment includes not just all of the emissions that are created or released into the atmosphere during the process of our business, generating and delivering electricity and natural gas to our customers. It also includes emissions associated with our construction activities, for example, or the fleet vehicles. We have more than 1,600 vehicles in our fleet, and so we're committing to a net zero fleet or a zero emission fleet, as well as the energy consumed in in our buildings, and so on. In addition to these emissions, and this is the significant part of our announcement, we are also committing to what are called Scope 3 emissions. And these are emissions that are not in our direct control. These are the emissions associated with our customers' use of the energy that we delivered. This is a big commitment, and the path to get there is not clear,
Mhm.
but we're committed to it. And going back to our values, we know that it's the right thing to do, and we need to shape our future. So we're looking for collaboration and innovation with the communities we serve, with businesses. But the reason this is important is that we do not have a choice other than zero. Achieving
Right.
zero emissions by mid century is a well established global imperative. It is well understood that if we want to avoid the worst effects of climate change, then we have to reach net zero, in the next 20 to 25 years.
Right, absolutely. And I know you talked about collaborations, but what types of projects and programs are you guys undertaking to achieve this?
Yeah, so last fall we adopted a sustainability strategy, and that identified several specific goals that were in line with our values to advance sustainability. The projects and the programs that we're undertaking now to get to net zero advance those sustainability commitments and that strategy. More broadly than that, we think that as a public utility that owns and operates infrastructure and delivers energy, there are really three key pathways to net zero. The first is electrification, or harnessing as much zero emissions renewable energy as possible to power our lives, whether it's in the cars we drive or the buildings we're in, and then also being able to store that renewable energy. So electrification is a key pathway. The second is clean fuels. So increasing the amount of renewables or carbon free energy that we have in our pipelines and on our grid. This includes things like green hydrogen being blended into our pipeline system to decarbonize the natural gas system. And the third key pathway is carbon removal. So the reason we talk about net zero is that at some point in the future, we actually have to take carbon out of the air or make sure it's not emitted in the first place in order to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And this can be done through things like carbon capture and storage, for example.
Estella, can you elaborate a little bit more on the projects you guys have?
Sure. So I mentioned that we have two green hydrogen projects, and we're really excited about these. We think that hydrogen is going to play a huge role in the clean energy transition. And so we need to start making smart investments in this technology now. You see a lot of work in Europe transitioning to more of a hydrogen economy, and for good reason. This is the most abundant element on Earth. It's versatile, clean burning. It can be produced from renewable energy sources like solar and can be stored for long periods of time. We're really focused on hydrogen, and our pilot projects will test 6 different use cases for hydrogen. And the knowledge that we gain from these pilot projects will help us understand the role that hydrogen can play both on our grid as well as more broadly throughout California and the nation in reaching climate goals. The first of the two hydrogen projects is located in Borrego Springs, and this project is co located with the existing Borrego Springs microgrid. It will pilot 3 different use cases for hydrogen. The first is how can we use hydrogen for long duration hydrogen based energy storage? We will install hydrogen storage containers that can support over 10 hours of energy storage for the fuel cell at the microgrid. This is longer than, for example, your typical lithium ion battery, which is about 4 hours of storage. Hydrogen as a microgrid asset is the second use case that we're testing. This project is going to allow the hydrogen assets to be controlled by the microgrid itself. So the long duration energy storage feature will complement existing short duration energy, the batteries that are located out there already under the control of the microgrid. And then the third use case is hydrogen as a market participant. The storage system will be made available as a resource that the California Independent System Operator can dispatch to support grid reliability when that's needed. The Borrego Microgrid project provides the ideal location to demonstrate on site production of green hydrogen through electrolysis by renewable energy. The distribution system is abundant in solar energy in this area from the neighboring large scale solar generation. So we really have a situation where there's an over generation of solar, and the ability to harness that and store it is what we're able to deliver with this energy project. The second pilot is the Palomar Green Hydrogen Project. This is located at the Palomar Energy Center in Escondido, which is a natural gas electric generation facility. And this is going to test 3 different use cases for hydrogen as well. The first is taking power that's generated by solar, turning it into a gas, hydrogen, and then using that to blend into the natural gas turbines for generation of electricity. The second is industrial gas that is used to cool the generators at the power plant. So the hydrogen that we're able to produce on site will be powered partially by the addition of on site solar canopies that we'll use in the industrial gas for the generator cooling. And then finally, the project will install SDG&E's first hydrogen refueling station to serve our first fleet of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. So the third use case is clean transportation using hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. The other projects that we're excited to announce on Monday are progress on our battery energy storage projects. Energy storage is absolutely critical to our energy transition, especially as we're trying to incorporate more and more renewable energy. The question becomes, how can you store it? Because you don't always use it when it's being generated in the middle of the day, particularly with solar. So energy storage is a key focus of ours. And here we've got 3 projects that have made terrific progress in recent months. The first is the Top Gun energy storage in the Miramar Energy of San Diego. This is a 30 megawatt lithium ion facility that can provide energy equivalent for serving 20,000 residential customers for 4 hours. This project is completed and it's in the process of being commissioned and will be operational in June of this year, so just in a few weeks. The second project is the Kearney Energy Storage Project in the Kearney Mesa area of San Diego. This is a 20 megawatt lithium ion battery facility that can provide the energy equivalent to serve more than 13,000 residential customers for 4 hours. We are breaking ground this month, I believe actually today or yesterday, and it's anticipated to begin operation later this summer. And then the last project is the Fallbrook Energy Storage Project in Northeast San Diego County. This is a 40 megawatt lithium ion facility that can provide the energy equivalent for serving more than 26,000 residential customers for 4 hours. It's going to break ground within the next several weeks and should be complete and in service by the end of the year. We also made a series of announcements on our clean transportation projects and programs. Transportation is a key focus of our sustainability efforts and our collaboration with different stakeholders throughout the region. The reason for this is that the transportation sector is the single largest source of greenhouse gas emissions. And for that reason, we know that transforming the transportation sector is one of the most impactful ways to address climate change, as well as air pollution, which is different. We also know that according to some recent state studies, more than 20 times as many electric vehicle chargers are needed throughout the region to support recent governor's executive orders calling for more zero emission vehicles. So we know that our role as a utility is to deliver at least some of that infrastructure and to make sure that the grid is ready to transform this transportation sector. We also want to invest in the potential technological benefits that exist with having clean vehicles, in particular battery vehicles, electric vehicles powered by batteries that can put power back and forth onto the grid. So, for example, we announced our vehicle to grid pilot program where we anticipate breaking ground this month, and this is on the construction of a bi-directional DC fast chargers at the Cajon Valley Union School District. This will support 6 electric buses, and the batteries on the buses will absorb energy when it's abundant and then put that energy back on the grid in the evenings when the school buses are done for the day. So we think this is an exciting pilot to demonstrate how you might be able to use electric vehicles as really mobile energy storage in the future. And then we're expanding the number of chargers that we have throughout the region. We're bringing chargers to parks and beaches, and we're also providing electric infrastructure for converting fleets to electric vehicles. This is the medium and heavy duty sector, which is responsible for so many of our air emissions. We aim to serve at least 3,000 fleet vehicles at about 300 sites by the end of that program.
How is SDG&E helping its customers to reduce their carbon footprint?
So we offer a host of energy efficiency programs and other programs, customer-oriented programs that can help our customers reduce their energy use and save on their energy bill, while also helping to reduce the carbon emissions associated with their energy consumption. This is true whether they're a business or residential customers. So, for example, we offer tips to help our customers shift energy use to the lowest cost hours of the day when renewable energy might be abundant on the grid. We have programs that help customers equip their homes with more efficient appliances, weather stripping, and other upgrades. And we have an energy innovation center that offers classes to professionals, businesses, and residents who are interested in learning more about energy efficiency, technologies, and best practices. And I'd also offer that we've got rebates and other incentives for energy efficiency appliances, such as smart thermostats that allow users to control the temperature of their home remotely. As we look ahead to 2045, we'll be looking to expand our work with customers, especially since the commitment that we've made is around the emissions associated with our customers' use of our energy. And we also know that customers a number of them have adopted their own sustainability goals. And so we're looking to work with them to make sure that we can design programs and services that advance those mutual objectives.
I love, that you mentioned a more sustainable future and then also the rebate programs. Affordability and costs are a big part of this consideration in this movement. What is SDG&E doing to help customers who don't think that they, can afford the steps to reduce their carbon footprint?
Well, our definition of sustainability includes affordability. If we're serious about making this really important transition, an equitable transition to clean energy, then we can't lose sight of this. And we've been quite active over the years in proceedings before the Public Utilities Commission, trying to make sure that things like rates or pricing is fair and evolves with the times, just as our energy use is evolving. We do recognize that there can be cost barriers, and we're committed to working with our customers and stakeholders to try to remove these barriers. I'll give you a couple of examples. In our clean transportation work, we heard from businesses that were looking to make the switch to clean fleet vehicles that the upfront costs associated with buying new electric trucks or forklifts, for example, were prohibitive. We heard concerns about how our rates for business customers could also be expensive because of how they were historically structured. So, to support these businesses looking to reduce their carbon footprint, we provide technical expertise to help secure state and federal grants to help defray the cost of buying new vehicles. We also secured approval from the Public Utilities Commission of an innovative rate that brings down the costs for business customers and fleets and makes them more predictable through a subscription model. And then for the average residential customer looking to make the switch to an electric vehicle, we provide resources about the state and federal incentives that are available to offset the cost of buying or leasing a new plug-in vehicle. We have an EV calculator available on our website, and we offer special rates for EVs that are as low as the equivalent of $1.75 per gallon of gasoline, which is just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And this leads perfectly into our, next question, which you probably already hit on a lot of it, but the decarbonizing of your own fleet vehicles. Can you tell us a little bit about your efforts there?
Yeah. Well, we think that it's important that we walk the talk when it comes to clean transportation, especially given all of the work that we've done in these areas. We've committed to transition our entire fleet to zero emissions. And to support this goal, we have 48 fleet vehicle charging stations throughout our different maintenance areas and service territory. And we're also building our first green hydrogen refueling station to power our first fuel cell vehicles. This is really exciting. We've been pretty aggressive in upgrading our fleet as new technologies and models become available. This is true historically. We're among the earliest adopters of the plug-in vehicle, the Ford F-150 pickup trucks made by XL Hybrid, and we have other clean vehicles in our fleet that include a hybrid fault-finding van, which is used to help repair power outages. It's got a 28 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery that can power the fault finding systems, heating and air conditioning, plus lighting for the duration of the average workday. We have a fleet of hybrid bucket trucks, which are used to repair overhead power lines. So we've had a lot of history on operating a sustainable fleet, but now we're making the switch to a completely zero emission fleet.
Wow, you guys are doing so much work and I love all of it. It gets me excited. I myself drive a hybrid, so that's what I can add, but and I love my hybrid, but you guys are doing so much and I'm excited to, continue learning about all of this. So, what else is SDG&E doing to reduce GHG emissions, which are associated with your operation?
We work very hard to make our building water and all of our buildings and facilities water and energy efficient. So currently, SDG&E has 14 facilities that are LEED certified. That stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. This is the most widely used green building rating system in the world. And we're currently pursuing LEED certification as part of our SDG&E headquarters Renew project. That's at Kearney Mesa. All new construction of our tenant improvements at SDG&E facilities that are larger than 10,000 square feet are required to pursue LEED Silver or higher certification. So we think about this in the design process and make sure that we're able to execute on these plans. We have also set targets around reducing energy and water usage and waste production at all of our facilities as part of our sustainability strategy and commitments. We're reducing energy usage at existing office facilities through HVAC system efficiencies, renewable energy sourcing, and Energy Star certifications. And for new facilities and leases, SDG&E aims to incorporate green building principles from LEED and other building industry sustainable best practices. One other of our commitments in the sustainability strategy is a commitment to a circular economy, one that is regenerative by design and aims to gradually decouple growth from the consumption of finite resources and reducing waste. So to that end, by 2030, we've committed to divert 100% of our organic green waste, especially green waste related to vegetation management, from landfills. And we've also committed to increase recycled water use to at least 90% at all of our facilities.
So wildfires are a really hot topic here in Southern California. You know, I grew up here. Wildfires have been a big thing for me. I lived in Valley Center, so that's always something that we're extremely cautious of. And I understand that SDG&E considers wildfire safety or prevention of wildfires to be a major element in their overall sustainability strategy. Could you tell me a little bit about the connection between climate change and the increase in wildfires?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that as a child growing up in Southern California, I remember loving when the warm winds in the fall would start and it stayed warm through the evening. And it was just a distinctive seasonal weather pattern. And today I have a very different reaction when those winds start up. It is one of being on high alert about the risk. As a result of climate change, California and really the West in general have been experiencing increasingly frequent and devastating wildfires. This risk has become a year round threat to lives and property. And as fires burn, carbon stored in trees and other vegetation combusts, releasing carbon dioxide and other potent greenhouse gas emissions, such as methane and nitrous oxide, into the atmosphere. This means that as fires increase, so do emissions. And in California, the worst days of wildfires have generated emissions that are roughly 4 to 8 times higher than the average daily emissions from all economic activity across the state. So since 2007, SDG&E has invested over $2 billion in a variety of safety measures to prevent catastrophic wildfires. We were one of the first utilities in the country to develop a dedicated fire science and climate adaptation department to combat this growing threat. We have our own in-house modeling software designed to allow our employees and our partners to forecast fire threats so that our region can be better prepared for weather conditions that can lead to fires. We've invested in a network of 220 weather stations spread throughout our service territory to monitor wind, humidity, and temperature in real time. And this gives us situational awareness that enables us to be surgical in terms of our response. We use an advanced network of more than 100 cameras to constantly monitor the potential for wildfires. 17 of these cameras, funded by SDG&E, provide live streaming and offer pan, tilt, zoom functions that help CAL FIRE more quickly locate and size up wildfires to develop initial plans of attack. So it's a real great example of regional collaboration in the context of wildfire. the level I mentioned, situational awareness, the level of situational awareness that we have today and the granularity of the data that's available at our fingertips means that we can make data-driven decisions in real time on how best to respond to wildfire threats. It's really amazing. We also support local firefighting agencies by investing in aerial resources, including an air crane that holds 2,650 gallons of water to supplement local firefighting capabilities. I can go on and on. And for anyone who's interested, we have more information on our website under Wildfire Safety. But it's a critical component of our sustainability strategy, even though the focus, of course, on our wildfire program is public safety.
Right, absolutely. And I know you guys put in so much work during the summertime and trying to get the message out to everybody, and then also just providing general tips for households and businesses to better protect themselves in the case of a wildfire, or just to prevent one, in general. So we appreciate all that effort, all your efforts in that aspect too. How is SDG&E working with stakeholders throughout the region to help get to that net zero future?
Well, we know that SDG&E cannot get to net zero by itself. And a key part of our strategy, you see this in our document, is a focus on collaboration and partnerships. We think collaboration is essential to reducing emissions. So that's one of the reasons why we've been very active in talking about our sustainability strategy, soliciting feedback, and frankly, finding opportunities for partnering. One collaboration that we're really excited about is called the Accelerate to Zero Emissions Collaborative. This is a coalition consisting of SDG&E, SANDAG, the County of San Diego, the Air Pollution Control District, other public agencies and nonprofit organizations that are committed to advancing electric transportation within the region. The Accelerate to Zero Emissions Coalition is developing and implementing an EV strategy. We're currently in the process of putting together an assessment study to determine what are the gaps that need to be filled within the region. And we're hoping to attract public and private investments to the region and maximize the effectiveness of regional electric vehicle charger deployments. We also hope to develop programs that enable residents, businesses, and public agencies to purchase EVs and install chargers. And then finally, to encourage equitable access to EVs and charging infrastructure for all San Diegans.
You've provided some great information, and I'm sure people want to learn more. So how can they reach you?
Yeah, so you can find out more about SDG&E at our website, sdgne.com. And if you're interested in checking out our sustainability strategy, you can go to www.sdgne.com/sustainability.
Perfect. Well, this has been an incredible amount of information and some really valuable stuff in terms of sustainability. Just one final question. What does it mean to you to advance Oceanside?
To me, advancing Oceanside means helping to build a more sustainable, equitable, and prosperous future for the residents and businesses who call Oceanside home. SDG&E helped fund the development of Oceanside's Climate Action Plan, and we are committed to ongoing collaboration with key stakeholders, including the Oceanside Chamber and others, to meet our mutual climate goals, and in the process, help create clean tech jobs and industries in and around Oceanside.
That's great, Estela. And thank you so much for everything you're doing and for having so much passion towards, providing a better green future for everyone. And it's clear that your work is, showing, and we are glad to have a mind like you with SDG&E. So again, thank you so much for joining us today for the Advancing Oceanside podcast. And, we'll be in contact very soon.
Thank you so much, Hannah. This is a great podcast, and I appreciate your time today.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Advancing Oceanside podcast, brought to you by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. Continue with us on our journey to help inform, better educate, and ultimately advocate for Oceanside. You can view all of our other podcasts on any podcast listening locations, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or visit our YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to catch all the latest updates on all things Oceanside. Join us next week as we host another influential leader from our community.